Welcome to Uncaged. Today we're speaking with Maximus Coric. Maximus, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Bant. Great to be here.
Now, Maximus has a really interesting background. He is the CEO and co-founder of Vizex Branding. And so we're going to talk a lot about what Vizex is doing. They are involved in strategizing, designing, printing, and installing visual experiences for commercial and retail spaces. So we're going to be touching on the world of branding today. We're going to be touching on the world of retail, which seems to be constantly going through a state of change these days. And really kind of touching on Maximus's full background. Maximus, it's great to have you on this show. Before we get into what you're doing with Vizex, though, let's talk a little bit about you. Tell us a bit about your background and your career.
Absolutely. So it starts out my father escaping communism in Yugoslavia, which is a huge cornerstone in my family. My mother's family is third generation. They came over as stonemasons back in the 1800s, but we're both Croatian. And my wife is actually Croatian. So four kids that are heavily involved in that. That's a really big part of my life and upbringing, not only from the standpoint of growing up in an immigrant household, but the immigrant work ethic and running a family print shop with my dad. The wisdom that comes from that and the knowledge. He always used to joke, your mother just had you here. I wanted to be American. So, we set that tone and pace right out of the gate. The understanding that what we did with our whole heart, and that was kind of it. When you do something, if you're going to do it, either do it or don't do it. And if you do it with everything you have. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we talked a little bit before the show, and I've played basketball with a lot of Croatians over the years, and definitely admired them. But I mean, it's an incredible story when your family can build a business and extend it into what things are happening today, and clearly that idea of a print shop has evolved dramatically. Tell me a
Absolutely.
little bit about what you're up to at Vizex.
Yeah, absolutely. So that type, that print shop, that you will, if you think about it. I mean, I grew up setting type in a letterpress. So when you tell somebody we used to print resumes, let's just say, when you talk about the industry and how far it's come, or things like printing hospital intake forms or an oil change
Yeah.
form, or all those things that have gone paperless. When's the last time you've used a business card or gotten a wedding invitation in the mail? All of those things have gone by the wayside. So when it used to be offset printing, negatives, plates, very involved, very industrial as I was growing up, to now very digital, and not even digital in the sense of printing, but just digital products. People have everything they could ever want, right? 6 inches below their nose in their phone, whether that's advertising or anything else. So it really has changed. That took me all the way through to 2017. I did my undergraduate and graduate work here in St. Louis, which is where our headquarters is,
Hmm.
with my business partner. So our graduate program is where I met my business partner, Brad Burns, and you're familiar with him. He's actually been on the podcast as well, multiple times, an entrepreneur, great guy, and more importantly, my friend. He saw the writing on the wall. He saw what was happening in the printing industry, and he realized that he was in a place to help, and he saw an opportunity for the both of us to be able to really be successful. And the fact that I was in the wrong place with the wrong clientele, scrounging to make ends meet, me with 4 kids, him with 5 kids, the entrepreneurial story, having heart-to-heart talks with
Yeah.
my wife, like, how are we going to feed the family? What's next? So
Yeah, but it's really an interesting one because I mean, when I look at I actually used to be the CEO of a business that played in the direct mail world and did all of the printing. I mean, we had, I think, we had two Heidelberg presses, just to put it into the
oh yeah.
context that you'll understand, Maximus. But those things, that world has changed dramatically, yet at the same time I can't help but feel like real world retail experiences are more important than ever before. So tell me about the type of work that you guys are doing now.
Absolutely. So the biggest thing that we're doing now, when you walk into, let's say, a white box, and by white box I mean a structure that's built by a general contractor, right, from the ground up, and everything, whether it's a Taco Bell, whether it's a neighborhood market, whether it's a Walmart, is basically just a white box. And that's what the term comes into. So when you're branding or debranding, you're always starting with that white box. We do everything inside of the white box, which entails graphics, fixtures, signage, and decor. So really the experience, like you said, wayfinding, hanging elements. How do I get to the soup aisle if it's grocery or if it's in a C-store, right? Where are the drinks? Where is the fountain soda station? People don't realize it, but those visual cues help subliminally sell, drive profits, put you in the right frame of mind to buy, right? Whether it's something, a point of purchase, whether it's right at the register and it's the last minute buy of a few dollar treat for the kids that are with you, or whether it's, putting in the milk in the back of the store. So you have to walk through the whole store to get back to the everyday items like milk and eggs that they know you're going to pass everything else and likely pick something up on your way back to the register. So that wayfinding, that navigation, whether it's floor graphics, end caps, the fixtures themselves, right? Do they step out into the aisle? Are they violating your path? They call them violators. And that's literally like you're walking down the aisle and there's something there. It stops you. It gets your attention. And that's the intent of
Yeah.
all design. How do you get people out of their screen and look around? What's here? Where am I going? What's next inside this store? And then you take it to the next example where how do you get them to grab the product? How do you get them to interact with it? Right? Whether that's a digital screen or
Yeah.
something else. How do you cut their habitual phone usage, and how do you get them into the environment and really engross them and interact with them to the point where they want to buy your product? So
Yeah.
that's a mix of a lot of different things.
So, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like, when we talk about digital, there was kind of the shift to kind of digital screens, but the reality is that, inside of a store, you kind of have a mix of digital, but really, a lot of the stuff that you're talking about is still printed. And then now we have this kind of emergence of AI, which kind of plays kind of an interesting role here in the sense that if I was a product company, right, if I'm selling something inside of a store, arguably I can bring more markets to product to more products to market faster than ever before. However, at the end of the day, you still have to print stuff. You still have to kind of lay out a store, etc. I mean, are you finding that things are speeding up, or is it still pretty much kind of just more efficiencies at this stage?
I think the efficiencies come in the repetitive nature of the install. So, for instance, when you're driving down and you find some mom and pop gas station on the side of the road, are you more apt to go in there, or are you more apt to pull into a Love's where the brand has a promise that you're delivering on, that's the consistency? Or whether it's a QT, or I use that example Love's because it's a prime example. I mean, 4 children in the back, and my wife and I were driving to Alabama to go visit my sister, or we're driving down to Florida or something on vacation. And you don't stop at some dirty place. You want to stop at somewhere that's got a nice parking lot, that's well lit, that's got a brand promise behind it. And that branding comes from what we're doing with that white box. We're turning it into a
Hmm.
place that is a promise of the Love's brand, or it's a promise of the Quick Trip or Maverick or wherever you happen to be in the country. We're a national install company, so we handle field management and field services. And I think that's the part that's lost a lot on brands, is typically they're, the biggest part, the hardest part for us is conveying what that is in the field. Because when you hire a contractor, that contractor goes out and buys, let's say it's a plumber, they'll buy that pipe, right? And they install that pipe. With decor, it's weird. I don't know how this became the common market practice, but people will go engage the manufacturers, and we do not manufacture. We have several partners throughout the US that are wonderful partners. They manufacture all these parts and pieces, but somehow they go out and they find that pipe, and then they're looking for us, which would be the plumber, right? I mean, quote
Right.
unquote, the tradesman that's going to go install that. Well, typically what
Hmm.
you have, since decor was an afterthought for so many years, that now it's become its own niche where you have to have a specialty person that knows how to do wall covering, that knows how to do hanging elements, that knows how to do all of these pieces. That's become its own trade, right? Not like a
Right.
plumber, not like an electrician. It's its own decor, decor tradesman is its own facet. And we have training programs in place. We have certifications in place that really have elevated the experience of our clients, because normally they find a painter to go and put some vinyl up on the wall or whatever that might be, which is
Hmm.
unfortunate. And the other side of that is we really do have to have a relationship with the retailer, because what oftentimes happens is these manufacturers, they'll have a relationship with them and they're trying to manage the commodity or that product or that print, and then they're reaching out to someone like us, or they've had bad
Yeah.
experiences with trying to find, the local guy chucking a truck for a buck and leverage that. So we're finding that the parabolic growth that we've experienced. I mean, I think we're at 168,000 top line revenue when we started, to 10 million last year, and
Wow.
that's from
Wow.
2019 till, that's a 7-year growth period, and it's a testament to the team. I mean,
That's
I can go out
amazing.
there and bring work in and be the face and do what I can. But, Brad behind the scenes handling all things financial and all things on the back end, like the CFO roles and responsibility, and really the business manager. And then we've got operations, Mike Oden running the show that, he delivers. And then we've got wonderful project managers, Fallon, Chris, Jay, Mike Johnson. We have to differentiate, because for a while there, I thought our hiring practice included everyone named Mike. But it's great. It really is amazing how tight knit the crew is. And then, testament to Vizex and our commitment to delivering at a high level. We spent an exorbitant amount of money and many, many months custom tailoring our own software that has a digital app, that's a digital application for the field
Yep.
crews to be able to find out where they're going, geolocated, whether everything included in this thing, in one-stop shop where you're able to embed all of the files for that location, all of
Yeah.
everything. And it brings the power of that to their hands. So customers are very receptive to that, and our ability
Yeah.
to really manage a large volume of work with a tight knit crew. And it's a testament to the crew's abilities out in the field. We're not having to babysit them, because we're training them right, and they are
Yep.
walking the walk, really delivering on our promise from start to finish. So it's an easy way to grow when you're not losing clients and they appreciate the service we're providing.
Yeah, no, it's a growth story that's exciting to track, and I think it kind of highlights a couple of things, which is, things like print elements are as relevant now as they've ever been, if not more so. I feel like it's going to be a continuous thing as we change out our structures in our businesses. Experience still matters. Helping people navigate environments, that white box, putting kind of the skin on that white box is really what brings it to life. But I mean, Maximus, you mentioned a couple of things about your family, and clearly I sense that maybe that's a driving force for you. But tell me a little bit about what brings you joy, what brings you that passion to keep going in this space.
It's the partnerships. At Vizex, we don't have. I tell this to everybody. We don't have 5,000 customers, or events or sales or whatever you want to call it. We have 50 relationships. And I mean, if you look at the people that we do business with, they're wonderful. I mean, all each
Hmm.
different in their own right, just like our project managers, and Mike Oden does a good job managing who has what based on personality and communication type and style, which goes a long way. I mean, we custom tailor and insulate programs, but it's also a testament to their ability. Like it has to be reciprocal. I mean, we fired clients, and we try to do the right thing. It doesn't always go well, but we're not going to leave. We're there until it's right. So things, you can't always GC's ready for you. Well, they're probably not ready for you. Things want to show up. Well, it shows up damaged. We know how to work through and mitigate, and our
Yeah.
clients are going to hear it from us, not from the end user complaints. So, hey, let's talk through it. Let's figure it out. It's a very conversational relationship. But really, what gets me up in the morning is, I think people's reactions.
Yeah.
There's so with the digital age, like you were talking about, Ben, it's like there are so many interaction points on a daily basis, right? But there's very few places where people are creating something. And Vizex
Right.
is like one of the last bastions of hope of actual tradesmen that are creating an environment. And I love
Yeah.
this example. You know, people come in and you're 19 feet on a lift and you look down and they're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is great. This is cool. Like that to me,
Yeah.
their reaction
I
of
tell you, you know, I used to run a big advertising agency group, and in most markets, we just did kind of your classic television, print, and digital advertising. But in some of our markets around the world, we actually did what Vizex does. And I loved going to those markets because you it was when you're working with a company to build their brand, nothing comes to life more than a physical thing, you know? And so,
yeah.
you know, I loved that so much, and I think that's really squarely where you guys are. Well, Maximus, with that in mind, where do you see things going for you guys in the near future? What's your focus?
So we've taken on a huge challenge because we do a lot of survey work. So initially we'll go out and
Hmm.
do it. And there are ways to do it digitally that are great, but we're looking at really furthering that. So kind of the convergence of getting data
Hmm.
point clouds and LiDAR, in addition to other different kinds of geospatial, you know, certified measurements and things like that out in the field, which are great. Drones
Hmm.
at night when some of the stores are closed, some of our larger footprint stores. So we're really looking at
Cool.
technology to be able to leverage that, which is really awesome. Also, frictionless checkout, right? Like that's huge. As I told you, we do a lot in grocery and C store. So, you know, how is that going to work? Is it going to be at the shelf? Is it going to be at the cart? Is it going to be in your hand? Right? How are people going to interact with that?
Yeah.
I think the U.S. is far off from doing a biometric deal, which it seems like China's adapted some of that stuff. Which government's got enough of my information. I don't think they need any any biometrics at this point. But you have to figure it out. Like that's the cool part about it. And we're hedging a lot of bets, and we're trying to get out there with those manufacturers and letting them know that we have the ability to complete on their field services and installations on all their equipment on a nationwide basis, and that's what we do.
Awesome. Well, I mean, Maximus, it's been great talking with you. I do love this space so much. Tell me, if somebody wanted to reach you and learn more about what you guys are working on, where's the best place to find you?
Absolutely. So they can always reach out on our website, which is Vizex, Vizex branding.com. Or you're welcome to call me if you want to have a quick conversation. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or if you ever see, if you see this post, please do. My email, max at vizexbranding.com. And there you go. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Maximus, thanks for being on the show. We've been speaking with Maximus Coric, and we've been talking to him about his business, Vizex, which is a company that supports customers to strategize, design, print, and install visual experiences for commercial and retail spaces. And one of the things is it's quite cool to talk to you, Maximus, because you've really seen that full evolution of where we were and where we are and where we're going. And I think that that's really what Vizex can bring to the table. Thanks so much for being on the show, and we look forward to having you back.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Keep in mind visual experiences, visual excitement, visual execution. That's Vizex.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. Be well.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.